Kindly remind me that you are not forgotten. I am still working, directing, and preparing things that remain unseen. The light that doesn't flicker is me. I am strong and consistent, even if your fire appears feeble. You don't have to make yourself hope again. You don't have to pretend or fabricate beliefs in order to be full of self-belief when you're not. Allow me to maintain the distance where desire will soon remain. While your flame feels too small, let me be the one. Feeling down might not be a disgrace. Suffering to believe is not a failure. Faith is not about never faltering. It's about having faith that even when you do, I will still be here. What if your dim smile means beginning something new rather than always ending your story? But Elle has returned to what had evolved into a more profound form of desire. One is now built on me rather than results. But the foundation of not relying on ideal moments is a presence that never shifts. This is a wish that remains steady, grounded, and subtly powerful without being loud or ostentatious. I've got to domesticate that in you. Let's stop acting as though the mild hasn't changed. Let's talk about what caused it to develop dimly. What broke your heart and left you wondering if anything will ever make sense again is what we'll call it. I am no longer here to pressure you to recover quickly or to hasten your restoration. I'm here to walk with you as leisurely as your spirit wants to take you. The fire will flare up again. It's because I'm breathing into what felt forgotten, not because you're trying something harder. I'm still restoring what seemed unrecoverable. I'm removing the fog even now so you can start seeing clearly again. I am not restoring all of it at this time, but I am restoring enough to proceed to the next phase. Light functions in this way. Although it doesn't always show the entire route, it provides you with the information you need at the time. And I'm going to make you a promise. One step at a time, I can illuminate the path until you discover you've traveled further than you anticipated. Your hope won't last long. It's just sleeping. I wake it up. Let me remind you that I still believe in what is possible for you, even in your darkest moments, and I never will. You have been walking through life with a weight that has almost become the norm. It attaches itself to your shoulders, becomes ingrained in your thoughts, and is woven into your recurring experiences. Before your feet even touch the floor, you wake up and sense it. It's more than just tiredness now. It's more than just sadness now. It's layered and more intricate than that. You were never meant to bear that weight, but you've learned to carry on with it. Hermits collectively call it that. Did the words that were uttered over you cause invisible wounds? Was it the pressure to be strong all the time, to keep everyone else together while also quietly disintegrating? Perhaps it was the ever-increasing standards and expectations that you felt you had to live up to be accepted. You felt loved and appreciated. Somewhere along the matter, you started taking on problems, responsibilities that weren't yours. Presumptions, judgments, and unspoken responsibilities, and they have remained with you over time, becoming heavier. I observed how each burden changed how you perceived yourself, so I watched it happen not with a rage this time, but with a grieving heart. I saw you start to wonder if you could handle it all or if it would fall apart. I saw how the lies that were whispered into your soul began to seem real. Your performance determines how much you are valued, that your needs are unimportant. You must earn love by remaining silent through maintaining a modest size and avoiding burdening anyone. I didn't do any of it. There was no area of shame on your back that I could see. I didn't add guilt to your steps. I never asked you to gauge your value based on the amount of hardship you could endure. It's a false model of affection that suggests you are at your cutest and most helpful only when you provide assistance. It's a distortion. Silence is not a requirement of true love. You don't feel burdened by true love, and the love I offer does not burden you. It releases you. For too long, you have carried unspoken grief, unresolved interest, and irrational expectations. It's time to trace them back to their origin. We can no longer place finger-pointing or assign blame, but you can finally understand what was never yours to begin with. Despite taking on burdens that have been passed down through the generations, taking in pain from others, and internalizing stress that was never meant to define who you are, you have managed to survive. Your resilience is evident. Yes. However, it is widely recognized that this also reveals the depth of your heart. Even if it hurts, there is a part of you that wants to act morally. But I need something more from you now. I want you to continue being lighter. I want you to go through your days free from the burden of perfection and pretending. For peace, I wish to shift those burdens. Now, I want you to address the pain with truth instead of ignoring it. Tell me all the things that make you feel low. Bring me the falsehoods you believe about yourself. Bring me the duty that you were never meant to bear alone. Together, we will lay everything down. This mission has nothing to do with abandoning people who were wandering away from your calling. It's about freeing things that weren't really yours in the first place. It's about knowing the difference between what you've picked up out of concern, pressure, or misplaced loyalty and what I've given you to steward. What has been draining your soul doesn't have to stay with you. Not when I'm right here, ready to take it away from you. Permitting pass might feel strange at first. The resulting vacancy may seem like a void, but it is not as a region. Make space for happiness to return. Room to breathe in tranquility. To rise above the layers that other people have put on you. Rely on your true self. It's the way of life I've always desired for you. I have never stopped providing that freedom. Let's discuss the burden. You deserve to walk without burdens, so you should eventually launch it rather than continue to live on it. And I'm right here, prepared to hold what you weren't supposed to. A subtle idea infiltrated your story and settled into your heart somewhere. That love ought to be validated, merited, and earned. It didn't start out loud. It wasn't verbally stated. It crept in subtly, perhaps following an error, a moment of embarrassment, or an inexplicable sadness. You started using your overall performance as a gauge of your true value. Like you could win or lose my affection based on how well you performed. Love doesn't work that way, not right now. Not with me. I understand that you did go down to assume this way. The idea that one enjoys one at a time was formed by life. Maybe a person's popularity was conditional due to their vitality. Perhaps the best way to show affection was to meet expectations, follow instructions, or control your emotions. You began applying that same rule to me over the years. You started to think that your shortcomings drove me away and that your failures separated you, so you had to try harder, be better, and do more just to stay close. I did not, however, diminish your value because of your flawlessness. By no means was I once a distant observer with a to-do list. I wasn't basing your value solely on external obedience or non-secular accomplishments. Because of what you do, I don't love you. Since I created you out of love for love, I love you for who you are, and my feelings for you have never been negotiable. I've witnessed you trying to earn something that is already yours. To prove yourself, you prayed harder, worked harder, and kept quieter. Every time you stumbled, you held your breath, wondering if this was the moment I would eventually back off. You referred to it as grace even though nothing changed. but you still secretly question whether you have been totally adequate. You thought I was just putting up with you, not enjoying you. You asked whether my mercy turned into reality, or if you had already outrun my judgment for the time being. But I really need you to pay attention to this. I'm not prepared to be able to get over my dislike for you. I'm not holding on to love like a prize you must give up. I don't need you to impress me. You don't need to convince me. You are not required to display a carefully manicured self-portrait. The real you is what I need. The person who, despite their potential worthiness, finds it difficult to believe it. The only one who questions whether they've done enough or gone too far. I need it. Have you really wanted that person? Think back to the beginning of that idea. When did you first feel that you had to earn what you needed in order to receive it freely? Visit that area and know that I was once there. I saw the tear you refused to let fall. I heard the silent pleas for acknowledgement. I never looked away as I sensed your coronary heart's silent retreat. I cried because of how misinterpreted you had become of me. I didn't want to come across as someone you had to win over. I wanted to be known as the only person who never left or stopped loving you, even when you were having a hard time liking yourself. To get what you believe I want, a lot of electricity has been used. But more than perfection, I want vulnerability, honesty, and sincerity. I get hold of your effort while you bring it to me. However, transformation begins when you share your reality with me. With me, you don't have to wear a mask. I don't want you to act like you're whole. All I need is for you to arrive. You'll also notice something releasing as you go. I don't have to earn my love. It's easily acquired. The love you've seen modeled in broken places is no longer the same. It wouldn't run out. It doesn't change along with your behavior. It does not require performance to be maintained. It's typical, as fierce as stable. It holds even if you don't believe it. It waits even as you confront it. It follows you even if you flee from it. Together, let's rewrite that false idea. Let's add facts to it. You are loved because of who I am, not because of what you have achieved. And I'm always in love. It never came down to trying to impress me. It is by no means about being the strongest person in the room or getting everything right. To get attention, you didn't have to put on a brave front. When you were quiet, I saw you. When your fingers shook, I saw you. When you sat by yourself and started crying in the dark, I noticed you. Those times that were kept from everyone else haven't been kept from me at all. I didn't require a speech. I didn't intentionally wait to give you an explanation. What moved me was the way your breath caught on your chest. The way your voice broke when no one was around to hear. You carried this silent pain without asking for anything. I was sufficient. Your humanity was enough. It's also possible that others have admired your electricity while ignoring your sadness. Without realizing the cost, they will have widely disseminated your resilience. In the hopes that someone would see beyond what you could do for them, you saved yourself by giving bits of yourself. When no one wanted anything from you, you yearned to be seen for who you were. Not just for how well you worked, but also for your heart. I have always seen that side of you, and I want you to know that. For years, you thought your value was correlated with how useful you were, that you would be forgotten if you didn't bring something to the desk, like a few skills, some energy, or some support. But I really don't see you that way anymore. I don't look at you to see what you can offer. Because you exist, I see in you a soul that is truly worthy of being cherished. I value your presence even if you don't accomplish anything or put forth much effort. The right to be held was never something you had to earn. There were moments when you sobbed and quickly wiped your eyes, telling yourself that you needed to get over your inability to rely on them. I didn't want you to get tougher, though. I didn't make you to be a machine that moves forward mindlessly. I made you to care, to love, to experience deeply, and to occasionally break. I made you sensitively not as a weakness, but as a means of getting to know me. Every tear transformed into a message, one of honesty rather than weakness. This hurts. I need assistance, it said, quietly and unfilteredly. Or even if nobody else heard it, I did. Even if you never said a word, I knew. At this point, no tear was missed. They didn't simply vanish. They've been detained. Yay. They have been accumulated. I was paying almost all the interest while you believed you were being ignored. I was leaning in right there while you felt invisible. My quiet demeanor has been misinterpreted as distance. But before, I was not that far away. I was sitting next to you, enveloping you in my care, and I was waiting for you to realize that you didn't need to pull yourself together. My love for you is not solely dependent on your constancy or power. It has its origins in not what you get, but who you are. It's impossible to say the perfect prayer. Assume that enough hours have been worked on all the appropriate matters to merit what I have already freely donated. Because of my love for you, not because of your past. You are now mine. If it works best, you might see yourself the way I see you when you're crying. You are the greatest compassion and the closest thing to the handiest love in me. You are not shame, unhappiness, or distance. You don't want to keep me close by wiping your face and grinning. To be interesting, you don't need to recover quickly. You can go back to electricity since I'm not ready. I sit in your softness with you. Therefore, let the act go. You could avoid showing up right now. You can relax. You can let out a breath. More than any presentation, your tears speak for you. They let me in because they want me to learn more about your world, not because I want evidence of your suffering. And I want to be in that situation, in the exact spot where it hurts, not on the floor anymore. I need to look. You don't have to tell me what you think you studied. I always will, and I have already chosen you for your realist shape. Sleep cannot make you feel better from a certain kind of fatigue that permeates every moment of life. It's in the way you stop before starting your day, attempting to call forth electricity that doesn't seem to be there. It lies in the way you continue to move. Hold on for support. You've discovered a way to bring that kind of exhaustion in silence, haven't you? Continue to show up even though something inside of you whispers, I cannot persevere going like this. Your rhythm has become trying, attempting to preserve everything as a group, attempting to live up to expectations. Trying to be all right when you're anything but. You persevere because that's what you've done in the past. You tell yourself to remain strong, to persevere, and to stop disappointing people. However, you've discovered that doing so disregards your own soul. You've learned how to push through warning signs. Although you have called it perseverance, its true name is survival. I can see how much it has cost you. I can see the parts of you that have become too numb to continue to function. I understand how distant pleasure feels and how peace has evolved into something you think about rather than enjoy. I did not, however, ask you to continue striving in this manner. I never told you that your true value was determined by how much you could take. I didn't make you keep pushing yourself past your breaking point and acting like you're not. Being relaxed is not a weakness. This is no longer a prelude to failure. You don't need to earn it anymore. It is a present, a hallowed space where you can cease preserving everything, where you are not required to provide proof, and which you can allow a cross without collapsing. Additionally, I want to teach you how to get that kind of rest with me. You've heard the term relaxation before, but I must demonstrate to you what it actually feels like. It's no longer only about taking a break from a pastime. It's about letting go of the need to be someone you're not. It is all about establishing the unseen rules that have worn you out. It's about being honest without worry, being present without solving, and being guilt-free despite everything. Now allow me to guide you to that place, not a far-off vacation destination, but a place inside of you that has been begging for relief, a place where your identity isn't determined by your output or how well you handle your suffering. A place where I become the center, not your endeavor, your authority, or your innumerable duties. Living a lifestyle on your own was not intended for you. You weren't made to bear all the weight by yourself. Your fatigue is not an indication that you have failed. It's an indication that you haven't rested in the spot where you obviously belong for too long. You don't have to work hard to find peace. You can slow down without having to prove it. All you have to know is that I'm extending an invitation to something special. Let me hold what's keeping you going. Allow me to speak over the din that might be preventing you from thinking. Allow me to allay your fears, which you lack the strength to even call. You're not overly ambiguous. You are not too broken to remain motionless. You're not too exhausted to take advantage of the relaxation I freely provide. To carry out, close the door on the pressure. Leave behind the expectations that drain you. Join me in a seat. Becoming rather than doing or restoring is the goal. You'll find what you've been longing for in that area. It's a mild return instead of a sudden breakout. A return to tranquility, to readability, to being adequate in your own right. You don't want to continue trying to be, so challenge you. Come on. You can breathe again. You can yell. You are free to relax. And I'll be right here, keeping you in the dark until you realize that I'm enough for both of you, rather than anticipating your energy returning. There were times you looked up and saw no sign, heard no answer, sensed no movement, and decided I should have moved away. Though you didn't say it aloud, doubt started to grow like a silent mist inside your heart. You prayed, you waited, you reached, and everything you encountered became silent. It didn't make sense. You had been certain that you had done everything correctly. You were sincere when you asked. You were honest when you cried. Nevertheless, there was still silence. You then began to wonder if I had become withdrawn. I know the power of that silence. It might feel the sensation of distance. It might cause your mind to race with inquiries. Did I make a mistake? Is he not happy? Has he lost interest in me? Those minds did not emerge overnight. They developed gradually, nourished by long hours of contemplation, through delays for which you had no justification, and through the weight of days that were unaffected by my presence. However, allow me to share with you something that may surprise you. I was never far away. The silence you heard wasn't a sign of desertion. It evolved into an invitation to do more. Instead of shouting louder, focus on paying attention. My voice has layers to it. They don't all have a thunderous sound. Every solution no longer appears like lightning in a cloud. Occasionally, I speak in a way that is so quiet that it falls short of your expectations. I move with subtlety through a memory that makes your heart race, an inexplicable thought that brings peace, a startling clarity in the midst of confusion. They are not arbitrary. I am like that. You have been waiting for a voice to resound from above and for a door to swing open. However, I have been communicating through the ignored. The way the sun shone on your face when you were feeling most alone. The way a rat watched you just when it wanted to. It was warm, and someone said something that didn't understand what you were going through. Those had ceased to be coincidences. They have been whispered carefully. There, you just didn't pay attention. I wasn't punished for keeping quiet. They transform into a simply calm presence. I frequently serve as a gentle reminder that I am not a performance to be evaluated by, even though the noise around you becomes loud when the industry needs answers and quick clarification. I am an experience to behold. You expected me to arrive in spectacular fashion, and sometimes I do, but sometimes the loudest factor is, honestly, I'm nonetheless here. I do, however, also approach gently. Stillness is how I arrive. I come and prepared to show you that I am no longer always found in results, not to irritate you or slow you down. I agree that it doesn't die, and I'm determined to pay attention. I haven't been forgotten. All I've been doing is talking in ways that your heart hasn't been trained to hear. But now I'm showing you how to tune in a different way. Your spirit is being drawn into a more sensitive state by me. You'll start to feel me everywhere the more you practice focusing without rushing. In the space between the questions, not just in the decision, but in quiet companionship as well as in big answers. I can see why you felt abandoned. I understand that you wanted me to break the ice with prompt responses. But what if this season was more about realizing that I am the solution than it was about finding answers? Not in theory, but in doctrine, experience, closeness, and the sacred understanding that you have never been completely alone, even when you have been silent. Let's swap how you perceive silence, then. Permits prevent the occurrence of its absence. Let it become an indication that I am changing my methods and am no longer visible. It is no longer a dead stop, permit or not. It is now a doorway. Allow it to teach you to wait with anticipation rather than annoyance. Because what I am building in you through the silence is more powerful than anything that noise could create. I'm talking. I have been talking all the time. And if you slowly descend a little further, lower the expectations, and lessen the urgency, you'll start to hear me again, more clearly than before, more deeply than before, and closer than you think possible. What you have been wearing lately is hard to describe. It is available in waves that do not adhere to a clean sample, not because it is not real. You feel normal for a moment, then everything inside of you changes, and then all of a sudden you're overwhelmed and don't know why. Your chest constricted, your heart pounded, and your mind raced. But you smile and say, I am first class, when someone asks how you're doing because you yourself don't know how to put it into words. It's tiring to be confused like that. Because of everything you've been dealing with on the inside, it's become difficult to distinguish between one emotion and another. Sadness mingles with fear. Happiness mingles with anger. You'll infiltrate situations that must be peaceful. Inside your chest, it feels like a tangled ball of threads. It feels constricted, intricate, and constantly presses against your ability to breathe. But you don't have to figure it out by yourself. I know how difficult it is to feel something without knowing why. I know how annoying it is to want clarity and then have to deal with chaos. You've told yourself that you should be more stable, stronger, and more organized by now. However, you are no longer weak for having strong emotions. The fact that your emotions do not align in a tidy row does not mean that you are broken. You are an individual juggling the burden of life. And sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is to say, I don't know what the matter is. However, I need assistance. That's where I really come in. Let me sit down with you in that mess inside of you. Let me assist you in reaching out to the unnamed. It is not your goal to have the ideal vocabulary. You don't want to explain every emotion you experience. Just start where you are. First, even if you only said something was wrong, that would suffice. You don't have to give me neat feelings. I'll sit down with you in the chaos and carefully sort through each thread until things start to make sense. Your feelings are important. It refuses to be rationalized or justified. For it to be legitimate, it wouldn't need to evoke feelings in other people. You've wasted too much time trying to lessen your joy by telling yourself that other people have it worse, as if suffering were a bad thing. However, your coronary heart was never intended to be silenced in that manner. I care about your pain because it's yours, not because it's worse or better than others. Let us talk about that weight that is not expressed. Does your silence mean you're disappointed that things didn't go as planned? Is it fear of something slipping out of your hands again? Is it the reverberation of shame from the past event? Is it a subtle unease that you struggle to pinpoint? This place feels safe because something troubling is distant. With me, it's secure. Nothing you go through as your situation is too complex for me to be there. You are eligible for complete love regardless of your feelings. We create space for recovery as we give names to all emotions. When something is hidden, it tends to fester. The words can start to breathe. I take my time with this approach. These days, I don't assume you figure everything out. All I have to do is sit in the truth with you. Honesty, no strain, and a mask are the only things I require. This is the true starting point for change, albeit through genuine expression instead of artificial optimism. I cannot in any way make you feel ashamed of how you feel. I can never categorize your emotions as drama or a weakness. I can see the stories and deeper roots behind the reactions. You may not understand the reasons, but I do. Remember that feeling overwhelmed doesn't mean you're lost. You're not going to sink. A whole new level of attention is being extended to you. This new level of attention embraces emotions as messengers instead of rejecting them. Let's assume so. Permits provide your only breathing space. What you don't understand shouldn't be concealed. Bring it straight to me. We'll work together to give those emotions names. They will begin to lose their ability to rule you as a result. Your feelings will keep you from drowning. They might meet you, hold you, and gradually bring you back to your heart in peace. A silent strain is present. You've been living under the impression that you should recover quickly. Find a quick solution and return to your normal self before everyone realizes you've changed. You've tried to recover according to a timetable, tracking your progress against the clock, as if your heart were a machine. However, that is not how recovery operates. There is never an immediate line, and it is no longer something that can be hurried. I know how frequently you have wondered why I continue to feel this way. I am aware of the disappointment that arises after trying everything: prayer, journaling, speaking reality, and fighting to move forward, for example, and the pain persists. The world is moving quickly in that you have made an effort to maintain its health. You have led yourself to believe that you are farther along than you actually are. Even while you are still experiencing pain, you try to present your progress as a form of protection. However, I no longer use your rate of healing as a gauge. Your pace no longer bothers me. Thanks to your technique, I am no longer frustrated. I'm not telling you to hurry anymore. Together, we are walking through every layer, every delay, and every detour in mule time. I might have mentioned every aspect of your journey, every silent step you've made. You've shown up every morning when you weren't feeling well, and you couldn't resist. It felt pointless each time you decided to hold your breath. I've witnessed everything. Furthermore, none of it is wasted. You've been worried that you might become a burden if you continue to suffer. You are concerned that hearing about equal warfare could wear people out, that they might drift away if you don't fix it right away. Perhaps some did, too. Maybe people became silent when you most needed them. I understand why you started thinking that to be loved, you had to recover quickly. However, just because you're healed doesn't mean that I love you. Even though you're recovering, I still like you. You're not behind it. You're not failing. You're not stranded. You're developing in slow, deep, and invisible ways. Some of the most significant changes occur beneath the surface, where foundations are restored and roots take hold. You can't help but notice how well I'm doing in the quiet areas of your coronary heart. Even though it might seem like nothing is changing, you should not rush through this moment. You don't have to apologize for still hurting people. You don't have to justify why you haven't moved on yet. What got you passed off? Answer. Instead of being ignored in the pursuit of something solid, you deserve time to process what you've been through. I want to make room for everything. Not just the parts that appear neat, but every part that still hurts. Put in the necessary effort. You should be honest. While you're getting ready, let go. Set your own pace when rowing. I'm not going anywhere anymore. My presence might not have an expiration date. You don't have to be concerned about exercising my endurance. I will be with you for however long it takes. I don't think your heart is too complicated. You don't have deep wounds. You have a short adventure. With me, it's safe to fall apart, to feel incomplete, and to be in a process of developing. To live close to me, you don't need to pretend to be recovering. Fixing yourself before you're even close is not what you want. I must walk beside you now, not just while you're healed, but particularly when you're uncooked, troubled, and uncertain. Every tear, slow breath, and step toward completeness is sacred. There might not be a desire to prove anything. It's enough that you're here. We appreciate your candor. Your approach is reliable, as well as your heart. I find it valuable just the way it is. Don't worry, I won't be dashing you anymore. I accept the idea that I might not permit crossing. Recuperate knowing that you are in the softest arms for as long as you desire. That's how safe you are in my presence. Your coronary heart has occasionally folded inward, but this time it was for survival rather than selfishness. There were times when the pain came too quickly or too often, and you automatically shut the door. You didn't advise becoming aloof. You didn't intend to become cold. You had been sincere in protecting what had already sustained far too many injuries. To keep people from seeing the parts of you that felt too exposed, too frail, and too exhausted to explain, you learned to withdraw in silence. There was nothing rebellious about that silence. It started to maintain itself. I didn't hold you accountable for it. I saw how your voice trailed off when you didn't feel comfortable talking. I observed how you built invisible barriers to catch your breath rather than to permanently bar people. I recognized the moment you concluded that feeling was not as dangerous as feeling completely. Because you shut down, I didn't reprimand you. Because you withdrew, I was unable to leave. I approached with endurance rather than pressure. I waited with tenderness rather than discontent. You see, I never wanted you to leave your home so that I could stay. I don't leave while doors are closing. Regular access is not necessary for me to fully love you. I remain near you, not looking away but gently stepping into the areas you imagined that no one could enter, even during your quietest times and when you were unable to put words to what you were going through. You've experienced more than you've mentioned out loud. You couldn't put your thoughts to use, so you kept memories for your frame. Because asking for help felt like an additional risk, you have carried emotional burdens without doing so. Instead, you huddled inside, telling yourself that you would handle it alone. It hurt a lot less later. However, isolation did not result in the recovery you had hoped for. It conveniently made the pain more familiar, quieter, and more confusing. Despite this, I never gave up on reaching out to you. I've whispered into your mental spaces. I have appeared in moments when you were unaware that you needed comfort. My presence has not been grandiose, but rather humble and loyal. Something unexpectedly calmed your nerves. It was a deeper than normal breath. Even though no one became a body there was a feeling of being held. These weren't arbitrary. They have been approaching me without forcing me to open anything that wasn't prepared. You would rather not be critical of yourself for keeping your heart safe. With what you knew, you've been doing just fine. But now I want you to notice something. Don't do that by yourself. You shouldn't treat us all with indifference. I shouldn't be excluded from either. Not because I'm here to harm you, but because you don't owe me anything anymore. To sit with you, to live with you, and to show you what it feels like to be safe again is what I'm here for. Starting up doesn't have to happen suddenly. It can begin with a single honest thought, a sigh, or even some words you don't fully comprehend. There's no need to go into detail. If you need to sit in silence, I'll do that. I'll wait with you. Not until you have the tools to be consistent, but until you realize that you have never been completely damaged. You don't have to decide between protection and vulnerability. They exist together with me. You can still feel like you belong. You can still feel at ease while conversing. You don't have to hurry or perform to heal. I will not be leaving. No matter how slowly your heart begins to open up again, I will remain by your side. Therefore, your behavior is acceptable if you are still protecting your lower back. But allow me to continue walking alongside you. Allow me to demonstrate that some doors open best when they are waited on, approached with respect, and loved with tenderness rather than when they are forced. I'll be present. I'm not measuring your tempo. I'm staying close to your soul, regardless of how much or how little you say, how wide or how narrow you open, how fast you move, or how still you remain. You have attempted to ignore certain things, not because they have vanished, but rather because it has become too difficult to wear them normally. Beneath the laughter, you tucked them away. Distractions and obligations. You told yourself that it would be pricier to transport than to bring back. However, the pain persists even if memories become quieter. It reverberates in subtle ways through hesitancies, anxieties, and responses that you don't fully comprehend. What you buried is still there. Unstated, he is long gone. I must accompany you to that place. No more reliving it. To return collectively and lightly to places like where darkness has sat for too long, rather than to dig her up merely for the sake of remembering. There have been some injuries that have not been properly recognized. You were able to grieve because you had been taught to forgive before you. When all you needed was permission to collapse, you were urged to be strong. 1 second did not cause thumb wounds. They originated from a series of tiny cuts that were ignored until the pain became too familiar to continue. You discovered how to cope with the pain. This is just the way things are, you told yourself, but I never wanted you to accept pain as if it had been permanent. I never intended for trauma to become your foundation. I did not ask you to build your life on top of buried grief, which is why I'm asking you to bring me into the places you have been as soon as you are by yourself. Recovery does not come from forgetting, but from facing this moment with me by your side. I want to talk about the memories you have hidden away, the memories that have shaped who you are. The words that were sent your way still have weight. Let's go to the ones places, not in terror but with hope. Because even though reality enters your old pain, it doesn't destroy you. Rather, it restores you. Reality doesn't limit what happened to you. It doesn't justify what shouldn't have happened, but it clarifies confusion and separates who you are from what was done for you. I need to remind you of the truth. You have typically been greater than what they saw, and you have typically been worthy of gentleness, endurance, and love that did not make you feel small. It rewrites the false narratives that hurt as soon as they are etched into your soul. Perhaps you were told that you were difficult, unworthy, and forgettable, but none of that was ever said by using me. Let me walk you back one memory at a time. You don't have to go quickly. You don't have to go over everything right away. The wound may have been caused by words, deeds, silence, or even abandonment, but it doesn't have the last word. Not right now while I'm keeping the pen. It doesn't just offer comfort. It rewrites, it rebuilds, and it creates new pathways in the heart and new breath in the places that once felt suffocating. You don't have to defend yourself from recovery. I will no longer reveal what you are now not ready to share. But with every wound we uncovered together, I will present a truth strong enough to confront the lie that the ache left behind. You spend a lot of time suppressing the parts of yourself that still ache in silence. So while I can't hurry through your fears, I can remain long enough for you to understand that your story does not conclude in sorrow. Wholeness is still viable. Freedom is still within your reach, and you don't have to fight for it alone. You no longer need to be afraid to remember, because every memory you revisit will now be held in love, met with reality, and protected in grace. Slowly, piece by piece, you may start to experience something you never thought possible in those places again: peace. To soothe you, we will deliver those pieces to the mild, not to embarrass you, but to give those wounds the attention they have always desired. You didn't intend to bring shame upon yourself. It entered subtly, through moments you wish you could take back, decisions you regret, words you wish you hadn't said, and silences you wish you'd broken. Slowly, it began to erect a wall around you, brick by brick, made of silence, secrecy, and self-doubt rather than stone. It persuaded you to hide in order to protect yourself from criticism, even from me and those you love. Disgrace does not merely inform you of your actions. It also attempts to inform you of who you are. It uses distortions and half-truths to speak, transforming actions into identities. Rather than saying, "I made a mistake," it says, "I'm the error." It is the voice you have become accustomed to. I want you to hear the truth in reality, though, because shame has never spoken for me. I have witnessed every aspect of your lives, including the things you haven't shared, the decisions you try not to contemplate, and the chapters you wish you could tear out. It tells you you're worthless, ugly, and inadequate when you're at your lowest. Even so, I do not view you with sorrow. I do not come to condemn you. I come to help repair your heart. I am not here to prove anything. I am here to dismantle the barriers of shame surrounding your heart. You have tried to keep your distance, fearing that if you let me become too close, I would see what others couldn't, but I have seen it time and time again. And I haven't flinched at all. I haven't even become aware of it. My love is not always fragile. It does not fracture in the face of your imperfections. Instead, it embraces, encompasses, and evolves. What you saw that disqualifies you is often the very place where I start my paintings. I know that shame persuaded you that honesty was less safe than silence. You saved pretending because it warned you that if you revealed what you carry, you would lose respect, love, and a sense of belonging. However, even as you build up your overall performance, your soul yearned for freedom. Let's start that freedom together. You don't need to knock down all the walls at once. Just allow one to fall. Share one thing you've been keeping hidden for too long. Because disgrace cannot endure in the presence of unconditional love. It withers when it is met with compassion rather than judgment. I don't respond to you in a way that minimizes you. I mention it only to remind you that nothing is too broken for redemption, and that there isn't a moment I can't touch. Even a whisper of honesty is enough to destroy what disgrace tried to seal. You may feel unworthy, but I have already called you mine, and that name is more powerful than anything shame should ever assert. You are not the sum of your mistakes. You are not defined by the worst thing that happened to you or by the worst thing you most likely did, and you are not a project to fix. Let me speak louder, let my reality drown out the lies, let my presence confront the concern, and let my tenderness reach the parts of you that still brace for punishment, because you are a soul that deserves to be loved completely and without hesitation. And that love starts right here, where shame tried to silence your voice. I came here to embrace you, not to reveal you. And when you feel that embodiment, the shame you've been carrying will start to fade. The things that once felt like bricks will start to crumble not with force, but with the power of mercy. You'll be able to breathe again and speak without shaking. Disgrace may also have built walls, but my voice, steady, gentle, and unwavering, is tearing them down, one gentle reality at a time, and I will be right here as they fall. You have lived with a running communication to your thoughts for so long that it almost seems like truth. It follows you in the silence, lingers on your decisions, and whispers in your moments of weakness. Now, you will break through, not as someone burdened by guilt, but as a person rising into freedom. Those words won't come from me, but they have become intertwined with your identity like chains. You may have worn them down with years of complaint, but you notice this when you see your appearance in the reflection, when you feel omitted, and when things fall apart. It conveys its message in unambiguous terms. You're no longer sufficient. You won't trade in any way. You don't remember. They may have originated from times when you needed assistance but were met with silence. Perhaps a cruel sentence from someone you trusted became a script you recited to yourself in private. Perhaps the lie became familiar over time, and the familiar began to feel like reality. However, familiarity does not equate to reality. You have generic issues that were never intended for you. You have claimed shame that was not yours to bear. You've let self-doubt become your lens and worry your compass. I've witnessed how deeply those words have ingrained themselves, shaping your choices, filtering your relationships, and reducing your ability to see the beauty I placed within you. But what if I told you that none of those voices speak for me? I don't define you by your past. There is so much more to you than the pain you have experienced or the names you have been called. You are not small, you are not invisible, and you are not irreparably damaged. My love has a certain sound. I do not define you by your weakness. I do not diminish you on your worst days. I see everything that you are, or even more than you have noticed about yourself. It doesn't accuse, it doesn't shame, and it wouldn't drive you into hiding. My love draws you out into the light where truth starts to mend what lies have destroyed. You've been fighting those inner voices for so long, but you've worn them out. Let me speak louder now. Let my words be the ones you return to when those lies start to resurface. Let me remind you of what has always been true. You are cherished even when you forget. You are now visible not only when you succeed, but also when you fail. You are chosen not by chance, but on purpose, even in your quietest, most insecure moments. You will have voodoo not voodoo carry. You no longer want to argue with the lies. I'm not just talking louder now, I'm talking deeper and clearer, with a resonance that can heal even what you believe has been permanently damaged. I'm not just providing temporary comfort, I'm offering transformation, a whole new way of seeing yourself through my eyes. You shouldn't waste more power trying to silence than together with your own strength. Invite me into that space. Let my facts do the work. Let my voice drown out the noise. Not through the prism of criticism or evaluation, but through openness, honor, and grace. You don't need to repeat what other people have said about you. It's time to repeat what I say. Let your mind read a new script. I'm not failing anymore, but I'm becoming. I'm not too far along, we're long gone, but I'm being restored. I'm not only unworthy now, but I'm already loved. The lies are loud, yes, but they don't have the last say. Not when my love is stronger, not when my fact still speaks to me. Let it speak now. Let it thrust upward inside you like a normal, unstoppable child. You are not who the arena says you are, nor are you what your worries say you are. I call you cherished, precious, and worth rescuing. Let each false statement lose its power, one truth at a time. And even if you continue to ignore it, I will be right here, repeating everything until my voice is the one you trust the most. Amen.